Do gods and immortals have good and evil? Standard of good and evil for gods and immortals is determined by the way of heaven and earth, not by the moral standards of the human world. Why? Because the moral standards of the human world vary according to different dynasties. It has changed. For example, ancient times, men and women were not allowed to touch each other, right? If you touched a woman, it would be unacceptable, right? The woman would not be able to marry, but now if you shake hands with someone, the woman cannot marry, which is a huge joke. Experiments change moral standards. Eternal standards defined by heaven and earth, not humans, guide immortality, not human-made morality. Immortals' understanding of good and evil isn't far. No absolute good or evil, only relative. Judging by human standards isn't useful. Understand deeper principles. It's not a human-defined morality that we should use as a benchmark. So when you ask whether immortals have a distinction between good and evil, understanding good and evil isn't far off. But this is hard to explain in detail because it can easily be attacked. There's no absolute good or evil, only relative good and evil. But in one context, it can be very clear, right? When you know something is ugly, then you understand beauty. When you know light, then you understand darkness. So that's how it is. It's not very useful to judge things by human standards. We should really look at it from the perspective of the standards of immortals to determine good and evil. It's not easy to judge by human standards. All I can say is, alas. We need to judge good and evil from the perspective of the standards of immortals, because if we talk about those standards in human terms, I think it might be hard to explain, and we could face criticism from people, so I won't go into that here. What I suggest is that you read more classics, like the Taishan Ganying Pian, and the writings of Lord Guanchen, and then take a deeper look at the Tao Te Ching and the I Ching, especially the Tao Te Ching and the I Ching, as they explain the changes and operations between heaven and earth. It's really important to understand where the principles are set and what the rules are.